there, I'm Scotty, you're not, and welcome to the official start of Project 80's. This is episode 1 about 1980. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the year by the earliest date to the latest date of the movies that I own, which in this one is 10. As we get going, there'll be more and more and more, but for now it's just 10, which is an easy start for me. And I'm just going to be talking about each movie, how I feel about it, just like a small little tiny review that I'm going to do, and then we're going to move on. It's not a ranking, it's just talking about each movie, kind of like what the Cinema Snob does with his 1980 and film that he's doing, but I'm not doing every movie, just the ones that I own, because it's easier for me to do, and these are more personal ones, because I own them, and there's a reason why I own them, and a connection to me, so, yeah. And so what I mean by release, the single release, like a regular Blu-ray DVD, like say Clerks 3 is by itself, like that, or release where there's 2 films, sometimes maybe 3 if I want to talk about the specific film. If eventually I'm going to do some review series and you'll say, wait a minute, you're doing the Karate Kid movies and you've only put the first one in your 1984 one, but you didn't do any other ones, but you own them. Yeah, but I guess I could, but I don't know. I haven't reviewed the other ones yet, and I'm going to re-review the first Karate Kid when I get to 1984. So here's that, and there is pictures of each one on there, so there's that, I guess. But I don't know. It's kind of iffy sometimes, but my whole thing is I want the picture of the movie on the case, and so for 1 or 2 movies, maybe 3 would work. When you get to 1985, there was one that's kind of nitpicky, but I had to put it in here because if I didn't talk about that movie, then But we're in 1980, so there's 10 movies to talk about here. So why don't we go ahead and get started then? Let's go. And we are on the first movie to talk about here, coming out February 8th, 1980, John Carpenter's The Fog. Released February 8th, so, 7 years and 12 days later I would be born. 7 years and 12 days later I'd be born, but this was February 8th in 1980, so it was... I think my mom was still a kid, so that gives you that perspective. But The Fog is a movie about this small little town, this coastal town, I think it is, because it's got a lighthouse, and it's haunted by this fog, this evil fog with evil ghost pirates who are out for revenge against the founders of this town for the horrific thing that they did to these pirates. And so they're going after the descendants. I think there's 6 of them. It's been a while since I watched this. But the effects in this are fantastic. The score is fantastic. It's John Carpenter, after all. And the acting, Jamie Lee Curtis, who had only been in one movie at this point, because I think Terror Train comes out later this year, which I haven't watched and I don't own, so it's not going to be talked about in this video. And she did Halloween before this, so this is like her second film. She does all right in this one. I always had kind of been iffy on her performance in the original Halloween because it was her first film. Really, she did some TV stuff before that, but it was her first film. Whereas here, I think she's just a little bit better. And doesn't help that she got Tom Atkins to bounce off of, although he is sans mustache, which we do not need. We need Tom Atkins' mustache in our lives, let's be honest, people. But in 1982, we will talk about his mustache. Don't worry. We will get to his mustache in 1982 and 84? 86? Whatever night the Creeps came out. But anyway, and the effects are still really good with this, and it is a very effective film. I've only watched it once. I need to go back and watch it one of these days and go back, but I remember being very, very, really good. I don't know if I was doing my Kurt once, but I think it would be a pretty good. I think. And it's even one of those times where Jamie Lee Curtis got to act with her mother, Janet Leigh. So, yeah, no, there's not. Janet Leigh is sort of in another story that's separate, where her and another actress are doing. I think, yeah, I think it's actually Nancy Loomis or Nancy Keys, whatever, who played Annie in Halloween. They had a little side thing, but I like the effects in this movie. John Carpenter. Ow! I bit my tongue. John Carpenter has a cameo in this as this guy who's kind of yelling. It's kind of funny. It's a good film. Let's move on to the next one. Now, later on that year, coming out May 9th. Yeah, that's right. I don't own anything in January. One thing in February, and then nothing until May. May 9th. Friday the 13th. Yeah, it came out on the 9th. Not the 13th, which would have been a Tuesday. So, guess that, they couldn't have figured out another Friday the 13th to put it out on. I know some other movies, I think the remake came out on the Friday the 13th. So, I went to the theater to see that one. This one, the original one, I originally reviewed it last year now because it's 2023. It is January 1st, 2023 that I'm recording this. So, it's probably going to go up on that day too. So, but I rewatched it recently last year on the Friday the 13th that came that year, and it kind of went down for me. I don't think it's a terrible film, but it's just the whodunit aspect, especially if you've never seen it before and you never heard the twist, about it being Mrs. Voorhees. Full spoilers for this video. I'm going to go into a lot of stuff. If you never heard the twist, it works more effectively. If you go in knowing the twist, like even the first time that I watched the movie, I wasn't 100% sure because I thought that the line in Scream, wrong, it was Jason's mother, Mrs. Voorhees, was a joke. I thought it was a joke so that he could kill her. Like, wrong, it's her mother, because it sounds like a joke. So I always thought it was a joke, and when I first watched this, it's like, oh, I'm Mrs. Voorhees. I'm like, shit. There were, I guess it wasn't a joke, but I thought it was. And while the effects are good, pretty good, they're great effects, because they're Tom Savini, the acting isn't that good. Even Kevin Bacon, who's a great actor now, not so much. The final girl, Annie? Is it Annie? No. I feel like that's the final girl. The final girl in this. I think I saw a picture. Alice. I don't even know if that's really her picture, but Alice, the final girl, she's one of those final girls, much like Jamie Lee Curtis in the original Halloween, because they haven't perfected the formula yet, so you can't really hold it against her, but she's one of those final girls where she's just the final girl because she's the only one left. There's no reason for her to be the final girl. She's not a fighter like Jamie Lee Curtis in H2O. She's just there at the end. And that's the same thing with Halloween. Jamie Lee Curtis is the only one left because her two friends are dead at this point. Loomis is really the final girl. Now, if you think about it, I shot him 6 times, which is in Halloween 2, which I will be reviewing again very soon. Halloween review in January. That's lovely. But anyway, and there's moments of filler. Like there's a scene where we watch Alice make tea, like verbatim. She's making tea. Like just we see her go over and get the kettle, and she goes over to the thing, and she pours the water in, and she goes in and does the thing. She gets the tea, and it's like. So they tried to fill this with what much they can, and well, but there are some good deaths in here. One of the deaths, I don't remember her name, but she's the one who gets thrown in through the window. She was by the archery thing. She gets thrown in through the window, and we never find out how she died. And there's also a very confusing thing I'll talk about when I get to the second one. I'll do my review for that one, but which I will be because there's a Friday the 13th this month. But overall, I think I gave it I think it was a not worth your time because I think this went way down for me because quality-wise, it's not the best. It's really not the best. And I hear a lot of people say, even Fedora, he's on YouTube here. He's an Australian YouTuber. He doesn't do much anymore. I'm not exactly sure why. Work, maybe, I don't know. But he's like, oh, we only talk about the bad movies on our show. I'm not talking about the first Halloween or the first Friday the 13th. First Friday the 13th. I'm like, hey, first Friday the 13th ain't no good movie, man. It's not terrible, but it's not one I'm going back. I'll watch part 2, 4, 6, even 7, 8, and 9 before I watch the original again. I get some fun out of 8. Even though it is Jason on a boat for the entire time, I still get some kind of fun of it. 7 is kind of fun, and I'm sorry, I like 9. Okay, 9 and Jason X, I like those. And the remake. Let's pick one. It's going to be part 4. But, you know, it's okay. Good effects, not very good acting, some filler. Pamela Voorhees, Betsy Ross? No, she's the one that made the flag. Betsy Palmer, she's great when she gets to shine, but you can really tell this lady is cuckoo bananas. But yeah, so I've been talking about this one a lot. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? Because the next one is The Empire Strikes Back, which is the first one that I'm matching with one of the movies back there. Empire Strikes Back. Or Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. No, I like this movie, but it's never been, it's in my top 5 because the original series, I hold the original series higher than any of the other ones, but it's my least favorite one. There's a lot of cool action stuff. I've never cared for Hoth. I feel like the whole Hoth thing goes on for so long, you know, because like Luke is outside, he falls down and he gets the Force Ghost. Obi-Wan says go to Dagobah system, and then the next half hour is just a battle on Hoth, and it's like, wait, I thought we were going to Dagobah, and I love everything on Dagobah with Yoda. Yoda's my homie. I love Yoda, you know, fantastic, and now I love Grogu. See, that's my 2023 calendar right here. I gotta find somewhere to hang it up, but it's Grogu, or Baby Yoda, or as my son calls him, Zeke. And he got Zeke. But, yeah. Everything with Yoda I like. Looking for someone. Found someone, I would say. You know, that was a Scooby-Doo laugh, but yeah. And it doesn't help that it was Grover and Fozzie Bear and Miss Piggy's voice. Frank Oz, but yeah, everything with Yoda I like. And then I like the Cloud City stuff. I love Lando. He's one of my favorite characters. Lando Calrissian, along with Han Solo. They're great scoundrels, complete scoundrels. You'd love them. And I even like the whole love interest thing with Han and Leia. They're building towards that because they decided, I don't know, they hadn't fully decided on what her lineage was going to be, but their work is a better couple anyway, even though Harrison Ford was the oldest of all of them. She was the youngest, I think. But, yeah, and the whole Lando, you know, up until the reveal that Darth Vader had somehow gotten there before everyone else. They somehow knew they were going to be there. And, yeah, it's a trap, as they'd say in the next one. And Lando turned out to be a traitor. And then he betrays Vader, and Han gets frozen in carbonite and taken away by Boba Fett, who has now gained a cult following. And, you know, for all intents and purposes, he should be dead. But no, we gotta bring Boba Fett back. And I get it, Boba Fett's cool. You know, Boba Fett's cool. That's fine. But I was fine with him being dead. To be honest, I never thought to bring him back. I never thought, hey, you know, I want to know more about him. No, not really. But to be honest, I started watching Boba Fett and just we watched a couple episodes. My son was more focused on his video game, and I was on my phone. I was like, you know what? Let's watch something else because we can't get into it. Although we're gonna have to, because I hear there's some things for Mandalorian in that connects to season 3, so we're gonna have to find a way to finish it. But you know, but Empire Strikes Back, the ending has always been a problem. I love the fight between Luke and Vader. Ooh, no, I am your father. Great twist. And I was a kid, I was like, ooh. Which, when you go back and watch the movies, it's very clear in the first one that he wasn't supposed to be the father. Much like John Carpenter did when he did his second film, Halloween 2, they had to come up with something. So the father twist came in, but it was never meant to be that. But, I've never liked the down ending where Luke's been defeated, Han has been taken by Jabba, and it just ends on this note. The first one ends on a great note. A New Hope, or Star Wars, as you really will want to call it, ends on a great note. They get their medals, except for Chewie, who eventually does. And it's a happy moment. They're all smiling. It's a great ending. And then this one is such a downer. Luke is missing a hand. Han has been captured, and now Lando, wearing Han's clothes and using the Millennium Falcon, is off to try to find him. And it kind of ends with them in that big shit that looks like a gun, and then it just peels away. Dun, 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 dun. And that's kind of why I like the other two over this one, because they have sort of happy endings, and it's a bit more, but it's meh. It's a good movie, but it's never been my favorite. Everyone says it's the best Star Wars movie. I've never gotten that, because there's just so much I don't care about. I don't care for the Hoth stuff. Every time it starts, I'm like, oh, here we go, Hoth. The Hoth battle is fine, but I just want to get to the Yoda stuff. Ever since I was a kid, where's Yoda? I want the Yoda stuff. Only for them to kill him off in the next one. Spoiler alert, give her that. But yeah, and I love a lot of stuff in this. It's out of the original three, it's just not my favorite. Up next is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. And, I didn't mention Empire Strikes Back was May 21st. This is May 23rd now, same year. There's 3 movies that I own from 1980 that came out in the same month. Excuse me, not year, month. Speak English. Same month. So yeah. The Shining is a horror classic. This family, Jack Torrance, he takes up a job over the hotel maintenance, taking care of it during the off season, which I don't know. Everything should be shut off during the off season, so you'd think there wouldn't be a problem. You have like a groundskeeper or something checking on it, but I don't know. It's just really weird. But he's there. There's ghosts and the whole, I recently redid this for Stephen King Saturday Night back in October, and it still holds up to me. The effects are great, the acting is great, and that stems from Kubrick being sort of a method director, where he does so many takes that by the time they got done, what you see in the film, especially with the hell's her name, Shelley Duvall. It might not even be acting by then. It's kind of like the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The actress who played Sally. That's most likely not acting, and she really was just crazy. And her smile at the end was just she's finally done with the shoot. And this is just all that put together. And like some things are weird, like the bear giving the guy head. I don't know. And there's always a question with the ending. What did that picture mean? I think, because there's one thing where there's that Grady guy who murdered his daughters and his wife. And then you have another Grady, but it's Delbert Grady, and it's implied that they are descendants. And so this caretaker guy, because there's a deleted ending where he has the ball that Danny rolled at Danny earlier, so it's really he's in on it. That was taken out. But that he's recruiting all these people connected to the ancestors, and they're just taking them back, I guess, which means that eventually Danny would be on that chopping block, I guess, which is where you get Dr. Sleep, but it's a little bit how they get to that in Dr. Sleep. I'm going to have to re-review that, but yeah, it's still a great movie. I think it's one of the better ones that came out this year. I think if I was rating, this probably would be number 1, but Jack Jack Nicholson. I'm talking about Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson's performance is fantastic. And the whole, I'm not gonna hurt ya. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. Love it. Love that line. Not love that he's gonna do that, but I love that line. It's just fantastic. The actingness is great. The directing, the cinematography, the score. Burn, 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 burn. Sounds something like that. It's fantastic. And every time now I hear that music, they'll put in other movies like, that's The Shining. Right? They use The Shining in Ready Player One, which is another good movie, but this movie's better. But yeah, good movie. Up next, June 20th, 1980, The Blues Brothers. The first movie to be based off of a Saturday Night Live property. And it follows two brothers. I don't think they're actually blood related, but they're brothers in a sense, you know. As they were raised together in an orphanage, so they're kind of like that. But their whole mission, they're on a mission from God to save this orphanage. And they're going to get the band back together. They're going to perform and make enough money to save the orphanage. Not that it matters with the freaking sequel, but yeah. And it's rated R, but it's got good performances from like Aretha Franklin. The Blues Brothers are good. The Blues Brothers are good in this. Ray Charles singing "Shake a Tail Feather." The acting is pretty good. The comedy stuff. There's a gag that, while it's kind of unnecessary, always kind of gets me with Carrie Fisher showing up and trying to kill them. And it's revealed that she's like Jake's ex-wife. And it's never fully explained, but she just keeps trying to kill them. And he uses his charm to get away. And I do like that at the end of the film, they do save the orphanage, but they end up in jail. A lot of people will say, oh, they shouldn't have been in jail. But think of all the damage they caused throughout the movie. That's the only logical conclusion here, is they end up in jail. The whole band, though, probably not. But Elwood and Jake, definitely. The whole band, probably not. But, you know, we got to have that scene where they sing Jailhouse Rock at the end. But good movie, great comedic stuff, great musical numbers, and it's the first of three musicals on this list. And yeah, I'm kind of trying to go a little bit shorter with some of these, but this is a good movie. I think I gave it a pretty good, if not a to the moon. Actually, if I was to redo it, it'd be to the moon. Up next, July 2nd, 1980, first of two July movies, is the first spoof movie I've ever reviewed on my channel, and it's very hard to do because, especially with one like this, there's a lot of background stuff that you can't really talk about. There's gags and there's this and that you just can't talk, and every single joke comes a mile a minute with this. It's a Zucker Brothers thing, so there's just a whole bunch of gags and jokes that come up. And it's all done really well. And the performances from the actors is great. And I in my review, I did the gag where that Robert Hayes does the whole drinking problem one where he just splashes himself in the face with the drink. And so I did that. I had to put a towel underneath to do that. And the first time I watched this with my mom, she bought the DVD. We watched it, and she had no idea that the tits were coming. There's one where, you know, it's shaking, but there's one where you just see a pair of tits. They're great tits, don't get me wrong, but when did this DVD come out? 2005. So I was in high school. Yeah, so by 2005 I was 18, but like, and I had seen tits in various other formats before. I'd seen rated R movies with tits before, but just you know, with my mom, it's delicious. Oh, I didn't know. But yeah, it's a great comedy, and I think I gave it a pretty good, I believe. But yeah. Up next, August 8th. No, it's July 25th. I looked at the wrong one. July 25th, 1980, Caddyshack. Yeah, it's a fun comedy about a golf course. I just feel like there's too much going on, and we start following Danny as the caddy, and then at some point we go with Ty, Chevy Chase's character, and there's Rodney Dangerfield and Ted Knight, and they're going head to head in the golf club, and there's just we bounce around, and there's this woman that gets around Ted Knight's niece in this. She gets around. She's with Chevy Chase one night, and then she's fucking Danny the next night, and she gets around. Even so much her uncle is like, my niece, she kind of gets around, and I don't want that getting out, okay? Oh, okay. It's my Ted Knight impression. It's Mary, Lou, the whole Mary Tyler Moore one. But yeah, it's a fun comedy. I give it the middle of the road because it just, I don't know. If I want a comedy, I'm not going to go back to this. It is a fun movie to watch. I will watch it again at some point, just not right away. It's a fun movie. The whole golfer stuff was added in last minute, and if you really think about it, you can tell. Bill Murray is great, but yeah. Up next, the second of 3 musicals, August 8th, 1980, Xanadu. And this was another one where I went back, and it's a middle of the road because it's good, but there are some problems with it. Like, there's not enough storytelling for the movie. Like, you got Sonny, he falls in love with Kira, she's a muse, and then he goes to fight for her, and Zeus is like, no, she stays here, you go, and he's sent back. But then Kira convinces Zeus to let her go, or not Kira, but the mom or whatever. And then she does go back. We get the Xanadu number, but there's no big them coming together or having a smooch scene. There's no big scene where he realizes she's back. She's just there singing, and he's right there like, oh, hey, let me dance, And there's no big, coming together scene. And, Gene Kelly's great. The actors are great. And there's this whole thing with him wanting to be a painter. I didn't mention this in my review, but then he just decides he's going to help open a nightclub. What happened to your aspiring artist thing? Like, maybe help design blueprints or something. I don't know. But he's just owning this nightclub, which should be Danny's thing, not his. But, the movie is good, but I think it could have been better if they added more storytelling elements. And also, there's a lot of musical numbers that just stop the movie. Like, there's the whole thing where the one that I did like, where it's comparing the styles, where Sonny has the whole late 70s rock and roll type fantasy, but Danny, he has the 1940s kind of laid back, kind of big band crooning type songs, and it comes together. I like that, but there's other things that just stop the movie. Like, there's just there's quite a few of them actually that, we're gonna sing a song. Like, the very end of the film, like I said, we could focus on them and come back together, but it's just one long song and dance, and then the movie ends basically. And even when Sonny meets what could be Kira, he's like, I just want to talk to you, and then the movie ends, credits, as we see them talking, but we don't hear them. There's just not enough storytelling for us to figure out what's going on, I think, but it's not bad. Okay, here's a weird one. October 18th, 1980, Motel Hell, which is the final of 4 horror movies on this list. As the years go by, 2 of us, as days go by, but as the years go by, there'll be more and more horror in this as it gets more and more on there. There'll be a lot to do. I don't know, when you get to the later half of the 80s, it's going to be a lot. But, Yeah. So Motel Hell tells the story of two siblings, uh, Vincent and his sister, uh, who own this hotel, and they have the famous Farmer Vincent's fritters. Vincent's fritters, and it turned out they're made of human meat. And so there's the whole thing where they have people buried up to their necks behind the hotel with their vocal cords cut. But it's really weird because they're going, they're still making noise. They're still making noise, just not voice, I guess. But it's still noise. You still should be able to hear them. But, basically farming these people for meat, which I don't know what's sticking. I still haven't figured out what's sticking them in the dirt is supposed to do for their meat. But who knows? They have a third sibling who is a cop, and then this woman and her boyfriend are driving. Her boyfriend gets killed by Vincent, but she gets left behind, and it's sort of like a Florence Nightingale thing where she falls for Roy Calhoun's character Vincent, and that causes a problem with his sister, who's constantly trying to kill her, but it just sort of played off, and then it comes together at the end, and you see that. With that, it makes it look like a slasher, but it's not. It's just a goofy horror comedy, and it's actually pretty good. I think I gave it a middle of the road, though. It's been a while since I reviewed it, but I think I gave it a middle of the road. But I would recommend it. If you want a weird horror film, watch this movie. Okay? Okay. And finally, December 6th, 1980, we have a Popeye, which is a joint production of Disney and Paramount Pictures. And it features Robin Williams as the titular character. It's a musical, final musical on our excursion here, and it's still a fun musical. I think I would give it a pretty good. I think it's been a while since I reviewed this. It's back when I was still doing the Flashback Friday and Throwback Thursdays. This was on the Friday one in the 80s. But yeah, I think the songs are still good. I watched this in the 90s, so I thought this was a 90s movie. Turned out, no, it's from 1980. It's very old. What do I know? But it's still a good movie. It's probably, I don't know if I would say it's one of Robin Williams' best. There would certainly be other ones I would put in there, like Good Will Hunting or Jumanji, Hook. I always remember those two over the other ones. What am I forgetting here? Good Morning Vietnam, and many others that I would put in. Aladdin, certainly, if we're going live action, and not Aladdin, but it's still a decent film, and I think, to close this out, I think it's decently made. The songs are good. Shelley Duvall's performance, I can give or take. She's better in The Shining. Here, she's a little bit annoying. Pluto is very weird. I mean, you know what I mean. The thing with Pappy, I like Pappy in this. Pretty cool. I think it's Ray Walston. And then you have Sweet Pea, who in this film can predict the future, so they use her for betting. I don't know. And then you got all the fat members. Oil. Castor Oil is her brother. Olive's brother. Castor Oil. Olive oil. Olives oil. I still think it's a decent film. So, yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. The year 1980. All the movies I own. 10. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get harder for me to do. But, I think this is a good first episode to start. A good start. 1980. There was more than I thought there would be in this, but that I own, because 1980 is an early year, and so I didn't think have that much. But 10 is a decent number, I guess. But going forward, we'll have more. I only actually have one movie to review for 1981, but there's also two other ones that I'm revisiting. And I figured they're both in 1981. One is the Friday the 13th. The other one is Halloween. Friday the 13th Part 2 for Friday the 13th. And then the other one is Halloween 2. And I was going to do like I'm doing with the Friday the 13th and do it every Halloween. But if I do that once a year, it's going to take forever. and I still haven't ranked them all, and I just got Halloween Ends. So I'm going to go through and review all the Halloween movies, and as I go through the years, I'm going to revisit the Halloween movies, and then once you get to 1984, I'm going to start revisiting Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't think I'll need to revisit Chucky yet, although 1988 is coming, will be coming up down the line, so maybe by then I'll change my mind, but don't expect all these right after each other. I'm taking a break after this, not a long break. I'm at least going to be doing the Friday the 13th part 2, so that's ready for the 13th, but taking a break. I'm going to try to finish the Flash season 8 before the new season comes out in February, but yeah, this was a good start for Project Ace. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.